Okay, today I'm going to show you how to put on hardware in the entire house, the H350s. The H350 is this long kind of brushed nickel, whatever, handle that goes on the door. They're very decorative. I like them, except for you got to be very careful. If you get them a little tilted with doors that are this close, it really shows up. So I'm going to show you how to avoid that. They also look nice on the drawers. I went ahead and removed all the other hardware. I've changed out all the doors that I could. And so now I'm going to go through the process of doing the entire house with the hardware. I'm not going to show you the whole house. It takes too long. It's brutal. I'll just show you this couple of techniques. It's the same technique in the whole house. Just doing this short little wall here, this fridge wall. So what I like to do is I have a jig that I use. I built this in my wood shop. You can buy these actually, but I can just make my own. I just plane down some oak down to about 1/4 of an inch and make a frame. And then what I do is I mark where I've templated the holes, and then when you put it on this door, I'll show you. You mark the hole, mark the holes, and then when you put it on this door, you just simply flip it around. So you can do it this way, or you can do it that way. So that's how that works. But I'll show you that process in a minute. But most installers and service techs are not using this tool, which is very important when it comes to putting on hardware. This is called an awl. It's AWL. Basically, it's a screwdriver with a very sharp point. The reason that an awl is important, and instead of just using a pencil, is because it does two things. Number one, we're going to put our jig on the door. We're going to locate the hole, and we just press into it, and it dents the wood. I'll show you in a minute. It dents the wood. It's hard to see, it's because it's white, but it dents the wood. And what that does is, number one, the jig has lined up the holes perfectly, and because we use a jig every single time, it's going to be the same, it's in the same location. But the other thing it does is it puts a little dent, and when you put your drill bit on that, I can't really move it, I don't know if you can tell, but it kind of fits right on that. If you use a pencil mark, if you just drew a pencil mark where that has to be, your drill bit can kind of walk around there a little bit, and that's part of the problem. The other thing with these 350s or 349s, which is the same hardware, I think it's just a little shorter, I use a 1/4 inch bit. The hole for the screw is actually 3/16, and most installers are using a 3/16 bit when they try to do this. And you probably could get away with it if you used an awl and a jig, but they don't. They use a tape measure and a pencil. So let's say it's 2.5, and then they say 6, whatever it is. Now you've used the exact same size bit as that hole. Now if you're a little bit off, those are how the handles, and they get crooked when they're against each other. So it's important to use an awl to puncture the wood so that your drill bit has something to bite into, and it's important to use a jig so that your awl is always pointing that little point in the same spot every time, and your drill bit isn't walking away from you. The other thing on these, most of the Ryland jobs or any non-butt door that has the style here, you never want to push the door against and then go ahead and drill, because when that goes through, that hole is going to actually hit on the edge of this style. So you want to make sure you pull the door away and drill through. And you want to let the drill bit do all the work. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it at all for this bit to walk right through there. So we'll clean up those pencil marks. Now I'm going to do the other door. And even if the door wasn't adjusted, if the door was too high or too low, with a jig, it doesn't matter. It's going to put it in the same spot every time. Now, because I used a 1/4 inch drill bit, I don't know if you can see that, but the screw can move around a little bit. And that's beneficial with these doors that are so close to each other because as you screw these on, I'm using the same screws as I took out of the old hardware. Come in these packages and they give you screws, but rather than open up more screws because I got to do the whole house, I'm saving the screws of the ones I took out, and hopefully it'll go a little quicker. But it's labor intense to change out all the doors and to change out all the hardware. Now I have the liberty to move these around a little bit and make sure they're nice and they're parallel and they're at the same height, and then I can just tighten them down. Again, if I use a 16th bit, I wouldn't be able to do that. The hole would be right where it is, and you have to live with it, and that's where homeowners and builders complain that these aren't parallel to each other. Next we'll move on to the drawer is a little different. In every drawer you have to go through this same process, but it's a little more intense. There's really no jig that you could build that's going to tell you where to put it for the drawer. So in this situation you always have to use tape measure and pencil. So the way I do it is I start off by measuring the length of the drawer, and it's 23.5, so about 11 3/4 is the center. If you wanted to check it, you would just spin it around and look, and it's almost 11 3/4. That's about the center of the drawer. Then you want to take one of your poles, and the center of your pole, I just eyeball it. It's right about there, and I just kind of put it right. I'm looking down at it, and I'm eyeballing to put it in the center. Now you could measure. You can see that. You could measure from the end of this to the end of the drawer and make sure it's the same end of here to end of there. But if you mark the center of the drawer and kind of just eyeball the center, I think even you don't have to be a trained carpenter to see that that's the center. Then what I do is I just mark the center of the shaft on this side and the center of the shaft on this side with my pencil, just a very light pencil mark. Then from this direction, now I want to find the center of the drawer this way. So most of these drawers that's 5.5, so about 2 5/8, and then we can check it. That's 3, so we'll go 2 3/4. We'll check it. That's about 3, so we can go 2 7/8 is the center of the drawer, and then there would be 2 7/8. So what I would do is mark 2 7/8 this way, and then right from that line straight down, you can see that I can make a little mark. That intersection right there, that's the center. That's the handle being in the center of the drawer, and being in the center of the drawer this way, and being in the center of the drawer this way. So I would still use my awl. I'm hoping you're seeing that. Still use my awl to dent the wood, and then the same with this one. And in this case, I made several pencil marks. So before I even drill, I'm going to wipe those pencil marks off. It's just easier to do it without the handle on there. And that would be now, to repeat this process, I don't have to go through all that. It's the same cap. This is a base 48. Now I can just measure and see where that hole is. And now I can just bring it over here, which is 9.5. By 2 7/8, right there. Again, I use my awl. And then rather than measure, because I'm using this handle, I just put the handle right up there and hold it level. Now I can take my 1/4-inch drill bit. Again, I let the drill bit do the work. If I push fast, I'm going to get a lot of blowout. So I let the drill bit cut as it's going through. If you're in a hurry and you push and force a dull bit through, that's when you get blowout out the back. So now it's just a matter of putting on the screws, which I've been saving. And again, because I do a 1/4-inch hole instead of a 3/16 hole, I can adjust these up or down a little bit as needed to make them look good. So that's the process for doors and drawers, putting on these H350s or H349s. Really any pull, it's the same process. But these ones are particularly tricky because they're long and you can really tell when they're not right. As soon as you walk in the house, you can tell. But I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of this house. It's very labor intense. But I wanted to show you that while I had the opportunity, just for a quick video, on how to install these poles. And there's another item when it comes to these kind of poles, or any kind of pole, when it comes to a trash can cabinet. Trash can cabinets, they have the drawer on top, and then you open up these, they got the trash can. So it's important that these, much like these doors are parallel and line up. It's very important as you look down on a trash can that these line up. Even if you're off a little bit on your first one, you always want to make sure you mirror it on the second one, because nothing looks worse or looks funny to a homeowner or a builder is when this one's a little farther this way and this one's a little cocked that way. They need to line up. So that was one other thing that I thought of before I put the camera away, and just keep at it. The other thing is the breakaway screw. A breakaway screw is nothing more than a screw with these little dents in them so that they're easier to cut, and you can adjust the length that you need to depending on the door style. So for example, this drawer, I have to cut after I drill the hole, I have to cut that little tip off, and all you do is you can use anything. I like these little portable bolt cutters, work really good. They can cut just about anything. But that's something else I thought of after putting away the camera. I thought that was worth noting, the trash can cabinet. And how they need to be parallel, or much like doors. You know, you want those to look nice and parallel to each other. And then also the breakaway screw is another thing that is probably worth noting for putting handles or even knobs on. This is somebody's home. They haven't moved in yet, but it's still somebody's home. They've already closed, so I like to clean up my mess. Also, these little tips that you cut off on those breakaway screws, they can really damage a floor if you leave them lying around and you walk on them. They'll dent the wood or scratch something. So it's good to clean up your mess. It's good practice anyways, but in this case it's extra important.